Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Ryan. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Speak Up, the podcast where we help everyday people become confident English speakers. Whether you're walking to work, cooking dinner, or just relaxing, we're glad you're here. Today's topic is something many learners face but don't always talk about: feeling stuck in the middle. We'll talk about why that happens and how to finally break through.
Hey everyone, I'm Priya, and I'm really excited for this one. If you've been learning English for a while but still feel unsure when speaking, this episode is for you. You might know the grammar, you might understand movies, but still something's missing. That's the intermediate plateau, and we'll help you get past it.
Right, Priya. We're going to keep things simple, practical, and real. No textbook talk, just honest tips and small changes that can help you level up your English. And by the way, don't go anywhere, because we'll reveal one big reason most learners stay stuck, and it's not what you think.
Yes. So grab a notebook if you like, or just listen closely. By the end, you'll understand what's been holding you back, and more importantly, how to move forward with confidence. Let's dive in.
So we've just welcomed everyone and introduced today's topic, and now let's really talk about this idea of getting stuck at intermediate English. You know what I mean? Maybe you can understand most conversations, watch English shows without subtitles, even read articles online. But when it comes to speaking, you freeze. Or you speak, but it just doesn't feel natural. That's what we call the intermediate plateau. It's when you've made progress, but suddenly you're not going anywhere. It's frustrating, and honestly, it happens to a lot of people.
Yes, exactly. I've met so many learners who've been studying for years, passed grammar tests, memorized hundreds of words, and still say, "Why can't I speak fluently?" That's the tricky part. Intermediate English gives you a taste of fluency, but not the full meal. You can understand more, but expressing your thoughts smoothly, that's still tough. And the worst part is, it feels like you're working hard but not improving. That's why this stage can be so discouraging for many people.
Right. And here's what makes it even more confusing. You might be doing everything right on the surface. Watching English YouTube videos? Check. Learning new vocabulary? Check. Listening to podcasts? Great. But still, your English feels the same. That's the heart of the plateau. You've reached a point where progress slows down because your current habits aren't pushing you forward anymore. It's not your fault. It's just time for a new approach.
And you know what? Intermediate learners often think they need more grammar or harder word, but that's not always true. Sometimes you're stuck not because you lack knowledge, but because you're not using what you already know. You've built a strong foundation, but now it's about putting those tools to work, speaking, listening actively, and building confidence in real situations. That's the key to improving your English speaking skills from here.
I love that point. Because it's not about studying more, it's about using English differently. And the truth is, the plateau isn't a bad sign. It actually means you've come pretty far. You're no longer a beginner. You've got the basics, but now it's time to level up. And once you understand what's keeping you stuck, you can break through that wall. It might not be as hard as you think.
Absolutely. So if you're listening right now and thinking, "This is me," you're not alone. So many English learners go through this stage. The good news is, you're in the right place. Today we'll show you how to move beyond this stuck feeling and finally start feeling confident and fluent. You've done the hard part by getting to intermediate. Now let's keep going.
Now that we've understood what the intermediate plateau is and why it happens, let's talk about something really important: the input-output gap. This is where a lot of learners get stuck without realizing it. You're reading articles, listening to English podcasts, watching shows. Great input. But are you actually speaking English? Are you writing your thoughts out loud? If not, then that knowledge just stays in your head. It never gets used. That's why even after months or years of study, your speaking doesn't improve.
Exactly, Ryan. I see this all the time. Someone tells me, "I watch English YouTubers every day." That's awesome. But when I ask, "Do you ever speak English out loud?" the answer is usually no. That's the problem. Input is helpful, but without output, your progress stops. It's like watching cooking videos all day and never making a meal. At some point, you have to try things yourself, even if it's messy at first. That's what helps you improve your spoken English.
Right. And let's be honest, output can feel scary. It's easier to just listen or read. Speaking feels risky. What if you say something wrong? What if someone laughs? But here's the truth. If you never speak, you never get better. Your brain needs practice using English, not just understanding it. That's where real progress happens. English speaking practice is where the magic is. The more you speak, even just to yourself, the more natural it becomes.
That's so true. And the best part? You don't need a fancy classroom or a native speaker to start. Just grab your phone, record yourself talking about your day, or describe what you see around you in English. That's active English use. It builds fluency and confidence. And when you do it often, your brain starts treating English like a living language, not just something you study, but something you use.
I love that tip, Priya. And here's another example. If you've ever watched an English video, nodded along and thought, yes, I get it, but then couldn't explain it in your own words, that's the input-output gap in action. You understand, but you can't use it. And the only way to fix that is through consistent speaking practice. That's how to practice English in a way that leads to real results.
Absolutely. And remember, mistakes are part of the process. Don't wait until you're perfect to speak. Speak now, speak often. Even small daily speaking moments will add up. That's the real key to breaking through the plateau. Stop just watching and start doing. That's when your English starts to feel alive.
Now that we've talked about the importance of using English, let's look at another reason why learners stay stuck: over-relying on grammar rules. You know what I mean. You're trying to speak, but your brain is busy checking, is this the right tense? Is the sentence perfect? And before you say a single word, the moment is gone. This English grammar obsession slows you down and builds fear. You think you need to be perfect before you can speak, but that's just not true.
Oh yes, I've met so many students who won't say anything unless they're 100% sure it's correct. But here's the thing. Nobody speaks perfect English all the time, not even native speakers. Fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about communicating your message smoothly and clearly. When you focus too much on accuracy, your fluency suffers. Speaking English fluently means letting go of that fear and just going for it, even if you make mistakes.
That's such a key point, Priya. I always tell learners, speak first, correct later. When you're having a real conversation, don't pause to fix every grammar detail. Just express your thoughts. Let it flow. You can review and improve after the conversation is done. That's how real fluency builds. If you always wait until your grammar is perfect, you'll end up not speaking at all. Remember, fluency is the goal, not perfection.
Exactly. And think about how babies learn to talk. They don't start with grammar, they start with words, sounds, gestures. Over time, they get better naturally. You can do the same. Use the grammar you already know, but don't let it control you. If your goal is to speak English fluently, then you need to practice speaking, not memorizing rules. Grammar helps, but it shouldn't hold you back.
Yes, grammar should be a tool, not a trap. Learn it, use it, but don't obsess over it. You'll always improve faster by speaking more and worrying less. The truth is, most people will still understand you, even if your sentence isn't perfect. And that's what language is really for: connecting, not impressing. If you're always focused on getting it right, you'll never feel truly comfortable speaking.
That's the heart of it. Communication comes first. So next time you're in a conversation, don't freeze trying to remember if it's has been or had been. Just say what you want to say. You'll learn from the experience. Speak now, fix it later. That mindset shift is how you move from stuck to confident, and it's the best way to grow past this stage in your English journey.
So far, we've covered grammar, confidence, and using your English. Now let's talk about vocabulary. A lot of learners feel stuck because they're trying to memorize long lists of words. But here's the truth. Memorizing alone won't help you speak fluently. You might know 100 new words, but if you don't know how to use them in a real sentence, they stay locked in your head. That's why you've got to learn English vocabulary naturally, in context, not just isolated words.
Exactly. I always tell my students, words don't live alone. They come in groups. These are called collocations, like make a decision, heavy rain, or strong coffee. If you learn them as phrases instead of single words, your speaking becomes much smoother. You won't have to pause and think about every word. You'll already know what fits together. Learning vocabulary in context like this is a game changer if you want to improve your English vocabulary the right way.
And here's a big tip. Stop copying random word lists from the internet. Instead, create your own vocabulary notebook. But don't just write down words. Write down real-life phrases you've actually heard or seen. For example, if you hear someone say, "I'm running late," add that exact phrase to your notebook. That way, you're building vocabulary that you'll actually use in real conversations. This is one of the smartest ways to learn English vocabulary naturally.
That's a fantastic habit. When you collect phrases you've heard in movies, YouTube videos, or even during chats, your brain starts recognizing patterns. And when it comes time to speak, you won't be building sentences from scratch. You'll already have those pieces ready to go. That's why English collocations are so powerful. They make your speech sound natural and confident without overthinking.
Right. And something interesting happens when you learn vocabulary this way. You don't just memorize, you absorb. You remember how the phrase sounded, the tone, the situation. That kind of learning sticks. It's way better than just drilling flashcards. And it helps you avoid sounding robotic. You want to speak like real people, right? Then you need to learn from real-life English use.
Totally. If you've been memorizing long lists and still feel like your vocabulary is weak, don't worry. It's not your fault. You just need a better method. Shift your focus to vocabulary and context. Start noticing how words are actually used, not just what they mean. That shift can boost your fluency faster than any word list ever could.
Now that we've talked about learning vocabulary and context, let's move on to something many learners overlook: listening. A lot of people think, "I watch English movies all the time, so I'm improving." But here's the truth. Just watching isn't enough. That's called passive listening. It's like having music in the background. You hear the sounds, but your brain isn't really learning. If you want to improve your English listening skills, you need to listen actively.
That's right. Active listening in English means you're not just hearing the words. You're paying attention to how native speakers talk, how they connect words, and what expressions they use. You're fully focused. Think of it like this. Passive listening is like sitting in a room with English. Active listening is like sitting at a table with English, having a conversation. The second one helps you absorb and understand much faster.
Exactly. And one of the best ways to practice active listening is something called the shadowing technique. You listen to a short clip, maybe from a YouTube video or podcast, and then immediately repeat what the speaker says. Try to copy their rhythm, tone, and pronunciation. This trains your ear and your mouth at the same time. It's one of the most effective ways to improve your English listening skills and sound more natural.
Yes, I love that technique. It's also super helpful for building confidence. When you repeat after native speakers, you're not just learning what they say, you're learning how they say it. You'll notice things like contractions, intonation, and real-life expressions. Over time, it makes a huge difference in how easily you understand spoken English. It's way more powerful than just reading subtitles.
And here's a tip. Don't just shadow anything. Choose content you actually enjoy. Maybe a TV show, podcast, or short YouTube video where people speak clearly and naturally. Practice short segments, even 10 to 20 seconds, and repeat them out loud. That's how you build real listening power and fluency. When you know how to listen in English actively, conversations feel a lot less scary.
Totally. If you're only watching movies with subtitles and thinking that's enough, you're missing out. Active listening takes effort, but it gives results. Turn English into a two-way street, not just a one-way flow of sound. Make it interactive. That's how you'll move from "I don't understand fast English" to "I get it and I can respond too."
Now that we've seen how active listening helps, let's talk about something equally important: speaking. Here's the thing. If you're only speaking English once a week, that's just not enough. Think about it. Would you go to the gym once a week and expect results? It's the same with speaking. To improve your English conversation skills, you need a daily speaking routine. And no, it doesn't have to be formal or stressful.
Yes, people often wait for the perfect situation to speak, like a class or a native speaker friend. But the truth is, you can start right now, even on your own. You can talk to yourself about your day, describe what you see around you, or explain a recipe in English. These little things create a powerful English speaking practice routine. It's low pressure, but super effective if you're consistent.
Exactly. Just 10 minutes a day can make a huge difference. One thing I often suggest is to record yourself. Pick a simple topic, like your weekend or a favorite movie, and speak for a minute, then play it back. You'll notice what sounds good and where you can improve. It's like giving yourself your own speaking feedback. That's a great way to build confidence and fluency without needing anyone else.
And if you prefer to speak with others, join an English conversation practice group. There are tons online, and many are free. Even short daily conversations, just chatting about the weather or your hobbies, help train your brain to think in English. The goal isn't to speak perfectly every time, it's to make speaking a natural habit, like brushing your teeth.
That's so true. Don't wait for a big presentation or a class to start speaking. Make English a part of your daily life. You could describe what you're doing as you cook or walk. Even talking to your pet in English helps build that speaking muscle. The more you speak, the easier it gets. Fluency doesn't come from silence, it comes from use.
Exactly, Ryan. Speaking daily, even in small ways, helps break the fear of making mistakes. You stop overthinking grammar and start focusing on communication. So if you've been wondering how to speak English daily without pressure, just start simple. Your own voice is your best tool. Practice out loud every day, and you'll be amazed at the results.
Now that we've talked about building a speaking routine, let's dig into something most learners overlook: feedback. You can speak every day, but if no one points out your mistakes, you might keep repeating them. It's like practicing the piano with the wrong notes. You feel busy, but you're not really improving. Getting English speaking feedback is key if you want to move from intermediate to advanced.
Right. A lot of learners stay stuck because they don't know what they're doing wrong. They say the same incorrect sentence structure again and again. That's where feedback helps. It shows you what to fix. And the good news is, you don't need to pay a fortune for this. You can correct English mistakes by using apps like Hello Talk, Tandem, or even joining Facebook groups where fluent English speakers are happy to help.
Absolutely. There are also language exchange partners, people who want to learn your language and can help you with English in return. It's a win-win. Or, if you prefer more structure, book a short session with an online tutor once a week. Even 20 minutes with someone fluent can help improve your English with feedback. You'll learn faster when someone gently corrects your grammar, word choice, or pronunciation.
And let's not forget peer feedback. If you've got friends who are also learning English, make a deal. Record voice notes for each other and give honest corrections. It's low pressure and free. Sometimes we're too nervous to speak to native speakers, but even feedback from a fellow learner can be useful. It trains your ear to notice mistakes in others, and in your own speaking too.
Exactly, Priya. Feedback isn't about criticism, it's about growth. When someone points out a mistake, they're giving you a shortcut to improvement. And don't take it personally. It's better to make a small correction now than to build a habit that's hard to break later. The more feedback you welcome, the faster you level up.
So if you're wondering why you're not moving forward, ask yourself, am I getting any feedback at all? Because speaking alone is practice, but feedback is progress. Whether it's a tutor, an app, or a friend, invite correction and you'll unlock a whole new level of fluency.
Finally, let's talk about something that might be the biggest block of all: your mindset. We've discussed grammar, vocabulary, speaking routines, but what about the way you feel about speaking English? A lot of people don't talk about it, but fear of embarrassment, perfectionism, and self-doubt stop more learners than grammar mistakes ever could. You might know the words, but your English mindset is telling you, don't say that. What if it's wrong? Sound familiar?
Oh yes, Ryan. I've met so many learners who are smart, passionate, and well-read, but they freeze up when it's time to speak. Why? Because they're scared of making a mistake. But here's the truth. Fluent speakers use English. They don't just study it. If you're always treating English like a school subject where you're graded, it'll feel heavy. Instead, think of it as a tool to connect, to express, to enjoy life more. That small shift can build English confidence fast.
Right. We need to stop aiming for perfect English and start aiming for real communication. Most native speakers make grammar mistakes every day. But they don't worry because the message still gets across. So if you're stuck, ask yourself, is it your ability or your mindset? Because once you overcome fear of speaking English, you'll start to unlock all the skills you've been building quietly for years.
Yes, and let's be real. Confidence doesn't appear overnight. It grows when you use English daily, even if it's not perfect. Make a video, leave a voice note, talk to your pet in English, just do something. Every time you speak, you prove to yourself, I can do this. That's how English learning motivation builds through action, not just study.
Exactly. So from today, change how you see English. Not as a subject, but as a skill. Not something you pass or fail, but something you live. That's the secret fluent speakers know. English is not about perfection. It's about participation. You don't need to sound like a native. You just need to be brave enough to speak.
And that brings us to the end of this episode. If you've been feeling stuck, remember, it's not the end of your journey. You're just at a point where mindset, habits, and action need to come together. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. We hope you feel encouraged and ready to push forward.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to Speak Up. Whether you're walking, cooking, or just relaxing, we're so glad to be part of your English journey. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend who might need it. And remember, fluency starts with you. Keep practicing, stay confident, and we'll see you in the next one.